The crew, so lost, so sinful, with not a hand to guide them. Until now, say hello to the Chaplain, the faith leader of the crew. The chappie's here to provide whatever flavor of faith you're so inclined and to be a stalwart force against the supernatural. With a Bible of holy slash demonic slash spiritual slash funny slash whatever energy, they'll heal the sick and sicken the wicked, and be a mentor and console to the flock of the malleable minds of this station, if anyone bothers showing up. Chaplain is, at its core, a social role. You throw on your garbs, throw out your prayer, and praise your preferred god in a not very mechanically dense character. While the big focus is just being a charming little conduit of the gods, you still have some hefty roles when it comes to being a protector and healer. Strap on your sandals and leave the craniums of both the demons and the crew sore from your Bible smacking, so hard you start filling your psalms with hair. Alright, let's get the simultaneously least and most important part of your stuff out of the way. In your office you have the Deus Ex Machina, full of different robes, masks, and books. Each piece of cloth and book in here is completely cosmetic. The books do not work like an actual Bible, and the robes hold all the same basic stats. At the same time, you have a lot of options, and you can't lead your cult or flock or what have you without looking the part, yeah? Also, I wrote descriptions for some of them, and Pigeon made the art for some of them, and that's pretty cool, I think. I would appreciate it if you tried them. There is one caveat to that, though. The magic sandals. These sandals are actually very useful, as they make you resistant to slips and some knockdowns, like the Sekath who hasn't figured out how to properly leave a Segway yet. Pretty handy stuff for when going gets rough. Unless you're a bovine. Womp womp. The Bible, with a cross of a non-specific religion or spiritual belief at its front. This specific style of Bible is the only true Bible, and other ones just serve as cosmetic items. This Bible has very few copies. At most you'll find your copy personalized to you for an important reason, and a couple around the chapel. If it needs to come to it, you can order another one from Morgue Supplies. While anyone can pick it up and interact with it, only those with chaplain training can utilize its mechanisms. Any laity who tries to strike another with the Bible will just hurt themselves for 10 burn with no further effect. The Bible has a few mechanics, a lot of them scaling off of an undisclosed mechanic in-game. Faith. So let's go over that right now. Faith is generated by the amount of people present in the chapel. It isn't presented at any proper value, but it can be inferred in a way I'll talk about later with Bible healing. At round start, a chaplain has 1,000 faith. For every non-atheist conscious player inside of the chapel, 5 points of faith will be added every life tick, or 2 seconds. You count towards this total very lightly, as the higher your faith, the less you contribute to it. Unholy antags, NPCs, atheist, and unconscious/deadened people provide no faith. Just for some quick math for you, with one person, you generate 150 faith a minute. With 3 people, 500 faith in a minute. And with 6 people, 900. So why does that matter? A Bible, upon striking a non-atheist person, has a chance to heal a certain amount of brute and burn damage. If it's a success, a small choir of angels will congratulate you, and the brute and burn will be healed. If it's a failure, you'll just smash someone in the head and actually hurt them, giving them 10 brain damage unless they're wearing a helmet. If they are an atheist, you'll just be smashing them in the head with a Bible for brain damage, which, to be fair, is deserved. The chance for a Bible to successfully heal is this equation here. At a base, you have a 60% chance for success. For easy maths, for every 500 faith points you get, you increase this chance by 10%. At 3,000 faith, this will guarantee that your Bible will always heal. The amount a Bible heals also depends on your faith. This equation determines how much you'll heal. At a base, you heal 7 to 13 brute and burn. At 5,000 faith, the healing caps out at 27 to 33 healing. Keep in mind, this is pretty huge, as around 3 to 4 smacks of the Bible with this healing would take someone from certain death to full health. Whatever the result number is, it is used for both brute and burn, and does not split. If you get a 10, you will heal 10 brute and 10 burn, so potentially healing up to 66 damage on a maximum Bible. This is also where you'll be able to figure out how much faith you have. On a successful hit, a chat message will be displayed saying that the target was healed. What this message says specifically, as seen in this chart, can tell you around how much faith you have. Just be aware that people may not always be a fan of having their noggin rearranged for a paper cut they got, so either carry around a helmet or hard hat or just accept you're not too far away from the doctors. Even a small amount of brain damage can cause someone to smack their head into doors and accidentally say random nonsense on the radio. So, preferably be considerate. This can probably be disregarded in an emergency, though, and in fact, you may very well come in clutch. Oh, also it costs faith. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not just a constant success, as you actually need to spend faith in order to heal. How much faith is spent is based on this equation. In quick nerd terms, for every 1,000 faith you have, you spend 25 more faith per heal. In reasonable terms, you'd probably be insane if you bothered to count, but know that being able to spacewalk doesn't last forever. The faith drain caps at 5,000 faith, where it will drain 125 faith per heal. This is mainly useful to keep in mind, since you'll know there will come a point where the Bible regains the ability to risk brain damage. Vampires, their thralls, wraiths, and their revenants all take burn damage from a Bible as opposed to healing. How much they suffer actually utilizes the same chance and amount system as healing does, just using the number generated for healing and instead using it for searing flame of bejesus. Again, just saying, you get this to around 30 and the vampire is going to hate you. A vampire also suffers a hefty amount of burn damage trying to pick up the Bible, which they should never do unless you manage to trick one in a game of catch. There's not too many unholy afflictions that might befall your otherwise vaguely undeserving crew, but when they come, you're the only one that can really stop them, kinda. There's only two real examples of this. The first is a clune. Clunes, in case you aren't aware, are miserable simulacrums of much more lovable clowns, but twice as punchable as them. Clunes, as per the Goon Station rule set, are not protected by Rule 1, and it is both allowed and encouraged to kill anyone ensnared in the hellish green jester garb. Now, as opposed to murdering them violently, you have a 25% chance per Bible bash to strip a clune of their godless gear and return them to human form. The other notable instance of curses is during times of a plague-bringer wraith. Wraiths have a chance to come in a form specializing in disease and curses, which is where you come in. A Bible bash has a 75% chance to cure any and all plague-bringer corpses on a person. Every Bible has a shared compartment space inside it. If you know what an ender chest is, it's that. Anyone is capable of using this shared space to store and retrieve objects. Whatever you use this for, be aware that anyone can use this, to include the lady. Funny to gank a trader's gear, though. Also note that it's actually possible to use this to transfer explosions. An explosive in a Bible will spread to each Bible, with its power diminishing per Bible on the map. Most grenades don't break this threshold and actually just don't transfer their explosion. So if you do need to use this, you're going to need something like a TTV at a minimum. And that's about, oh my god, is that, you know that personalized copy of the Bible you spawn with? Faith is why it's personalized. The gun's name, that is, it's Faith. Not to be confused with the points mechanic mentioned before, Faith is a 22 pistol with 4 rounds inside, doing 22 damage each, haha. It uses its own secret compartment in the Bible that you place it in, and can only be retrieved or put back by the chaplain, though the gun is a normal pistol that can be used by anyone. While it's not the strongest weapon in the world, and decent armor can take it down a peg, it's still bullets that can embed in people and certainly raise your threat level. Just be aware you'll need to be sneaky and manufacture more rounds than a general fabricator if you want to use it more. Faith does not transfer between Bibles and will only be stored in the one it's inside, so I wouldn't lose it if I were you. Surprisingly enough, literally shitting on the holy text of any god is going to get them a little pissed. Farting on a Bible by any non-atheist human is an instantaneous jib, no exceptions. I can't advise you goad people into doing this by laying down in the hall on top of your Bible, but all I'm saying is having it happen on accident is a reminder that perhaps whatever God you chose to worship is both real and hilarious. Baptize these bastards with phials of holy water. Holy water holds a few specific uses that usually coincide with the Bible's role as well. You have a phial on your desk, and you can grab a DIY holy water kit from the Deus Ex. That gets you an extra 9 phials worth of mercury and wine. Just find a sink or something for the water, it's not that hard. If worst comes to it, work with your bartender or science crew, as technically anyone can help you make more holy water. Which isn't really all that holy in hindsight, is it? The holy water flask you spawn with will hold 30 units, meaning either a huge dump of holy water or 3 10-unit splashes. Holy water does not work on atheists. One of the big things about holy water is that it can heal brain damage per unit, up to 10. If you recall, a failed Bible heal causes 10 brain damage. Using this to offset the damage done will make people a little less upset at you for rearranging their brain matter. Make sure you set your grip on the bottle to tight with C, as it only heals up to 10 at a time, and dumping the whole phial just makes you wasted. Holy water has a specific effect on vampires that it actually does 1.25 burn per unit applied. Even worse, it removes just as much blood from their point pool, setting them back some. Holy water applied above 10 units is also capable of removing Plaguebringer curses, and is the only way to remove artifact curses incurred by research artifacts. Holy water has a unique property where every unit has a 1% chance to cure any disease. Now, on the one hand, that does sound pretty underwhelming, but for what it's worth, that is any disease. From space flu, to grave fever, to Kuru. And all I'm saying is at that point, if someone's dying from prions, you might as well already start praying. Welcome to thy place of worship, gamer. Let's go over the 2 most mechanically significant portions of the chapel first. Your chapel has some special effects against vampires and wizards who walk on the holy grounds. Any vampire inside chapel grounds, under 1800 blood units, will constantly burn until they leave. A wizard who is in the chapel is incapable of spell casting. This doesn't cause spells to dissipate if they come into the chapel, though, so the wizard is still liable to shoot a fireball into the crowd if you let them. Also, anyone who's in a chapel is incapable of being scryed upon by the wizard's clairvoyance spell. The chapel office also counts as holy ground, and this holy ground is the same area used to generate points for faith. There's also the crematorium. Each chapel has an attached morgue only accessible by the chaplain, Haas, captain, and any cyborg AI. Inside, a crematorium can be used to burn bodies. By burning the body, or whatever you put in there, it's permanently deleted, rendering most of the body to ash and occasionally leaving behind bits of a person's items and organs. Activating the cooker requires the same access as the morgue itself, and can't be opened after the process is started. It also doesn't check if the person in the tray is alive, so no naps. Chapel morgues start with body bags and formaldehyde, 2 useful tools in reducing the risk of corpse maneuvering. Body bags remove the slowdown of carrying bodies and contain miasma, and any formaldehyde injected into a corpse removes the risk of decay, thus ensuring the body never becomes unclonable or rotten. You also have white gloves and masks in there in case, the flu starts going around. Spray bottles are there mainly for cleaning up the blood off of corpses for funerals, but, if there's a mess in the chapel, no reason not to use what you got. You also sometimes have a spacicillin injector, which is a useful chem when treating diseases, notably if there's grave fever or Clune disease going around. Morgue trays also stop the decay of any corpse inside and are funny to click on a bunch. Everything else here isn't very mechanically significant, but for whatever chaplaining purposes you might have, they can be fun little additions to keep in mind. Almost all chapels come with a funeral driver, which shoots anything inside out into space. preferably for tasteful funerals, but it's also an easy trash chute. Restrictions on the mass driver vary between stations, but most usually have a door limited to chaplain use. Confession booth, locked from sight and a great place to let your sickening crewmates gush about their methed up power fantasy, scrutiny free. Chapels have a reed organ for dramatic canned musical stings, but also have a much more robust musical instrument, the player piano. It's a piano that decodes text to notes in order to play music. It's a whole thing, so I'm just going to link the wiki page for it. But that same page is in book form in-game, as Your Player Piano and You. There's also some random stuff in your office besides clothes. Usually some art supplies, a swing sign, maybe some candles lying around you can use to set stuff up, a printing press which lets you make holy scriptures and whatnot. There's also a nerd room usually not too far from the chapel. It usually has a decent couple of in-game games, Spaceman the Grievening, and Stations and Syndicates. Usually only good for a bit, but that's what you're here for, isn't it? As mentioned a decent few times now, you have some hard counters at your disposal to a decent few antags. But did you know you're a hard counter? Let's give you everything you should know about the devilish denizens and foolish ghouls that might have to go to blows with you. A vampire's glare, hypnotize, frostbats, chiropter, and scream, and disease touch all automatically dissipate and fail against the chaplain. The chaplain is incapable of being enthralled and will instead be resurrected to full health should the ability be used against them. The chaplain's blood functions identical to holy water, against vampires specifically, and should the vampire drink it, this will instead inflict burn damage and delete blood points. This blood effect also goes for their thralls. It should be noted that a coffin is capable of healing a vampire of all wounds, and even resurrecting them should they die. As you own the coffins technically, just be aware if you happen to find any missing. All wizard spells that target a person or cast a projectile fizzle out or are ignored by the chaplain, rendering them immune to many offensive spells, curses, and scrying. This immunity is only for spells targeting others, however, and spell types to include constructs like Sticks to Snakes, enhancements like Empower, or defensive spells like Energy Shield still function as intended against any target. Chaplains are also not immune to the effects of picking up the Cthulhu and Lightning Staff, nor is the chaplain immune to the abilities of the Lightning Staff, so watch out for that. All wraiths cannot target a chaplain with Decay or Command. Harbinger Revenants are incapable of affecting chaplains with Crush, Shockwave, Push, or Mass Command. Touch of Evil still functions against chaplains. Tricksters are incapable of targeting the chaplain with Hallucination, Creeping Dread, or Possession. Other non-targeted illusions and rune traps still work. Plaguebringers cannot apply curses to chaplains. It should be noted that corpses are also very important to wraiths, as their ability Absorb Corpse is quintessential in speeding up their point generation. You not only have ways to remove corpses from the station with the mass driver and crematorium, but you also have some spare embalming fluid. 25 plus units of embalming fluid, or 1 2/3 of a syringe, will cause a wraith's corpse absorption to instead do nothing and delete the embalming fluid from inside the body. This will still use their cooldown and seriously waste their time, so I would say it's worth it. While none of the other antags are any sort of supernatural entity that you counter, it is worth noting that the crematorium is often the preferred method of permanently ending a changeling. If security is begging to burn a random monkey with a flailing tentacle arm, it might be in your interest to be a good Christian boy and help them, or you'll risk having a little head crawl down your throat and take over your body. Now, keep in mind, in regards to all these antags, please remember that, besides the Bible and the Resistances, you are still a crewmate. No amount of prayer and faith stacking is gonna make being beaten to death by a fire extinguisher any easier. Keep your head on a swivel and a meth pill in your pocket if you're being serious about this hunt. Additionally, all these antags are incredibly mobile, and will very likely get to somewhere you can't, so ask for some higher accesses if you need it. Maintenance at a minimum. So this specifically goes for the roleplay servers, but I do want to throw this in as a reminder. Please be reasonable with these antags and don't make their round miserable, please. Are you strong against them? Yes, you're pretty strong against them. And don't get me wrong, I understand wanting to get out the holy water flamethrower, but you are still required to escalate and not to grief, lest you incur the wrath of the gods of player intervention and get a day ban for unloading faith into the stranger who said they didn't want garlic bread. Suffocating antags all shift with threats of Bible bashing isn't gonna be as fun as an all-out brawl station versus vampires with you leading the charge. Remember, this is a funny video game. You don't lose any gamer license if the vampire gets the drop on you or people let the wizard do a funny bit for 10 minutes. Relax. Just chill. I won't lie to you, my child. While I have presented some pretty hefty mystical boons, at the end of the day, this is still a roleplay-based role. If you go into this expecting to be a 24/7 Doom Slayer or level 20 Life Cleric, you will find yourself disappointed when it turns out to be an extended round with 20 people all checking out the cooler admin gimmick in the bar instead of your chapel. However, like any role with no expectations, the sky is the limit for whatever you can do. If nothing strikes your fancy, I'd browse the Deus Ex and see if any clothes or books make you think of something. Pro tip, I'd use your station resources to lighten your load if you got a gimmick. Ask Botany for some trees, get engineering to fix up the paint machine. The construction equipment crate is a classic from Cargo. Get some good grub from the catering crew. Even after all of this, if you're cool with just being a guy with a book, then that's fine. I still encourage you to lean into the holy guy bit, but at the end of it, it's your time with the role, and it's up to you what you want to do. Host a funeral, hold a seance, pray on the haters. Just please wait until about minute 15 before you Bible fart. I'm not saying Chaplain is some sleeper pick or there's so much more that you're not seeing, but I'm willing to wager that anyone with a creative mind can get some value out of it. So go, my warrior of faith, sow the seeds of belief, and may your harvest be ripe. I don't know, I quoted the wiki for like fucking 80% of this. This was very unnecessary. I just needed a low ball.